time to get in the huddle with your host, Charles Prodigy Richey, here on the Mass Steel Podcast.
This thing belongs to Mr. Rooney. It belongs here, and let's see if we can bring this damn thing back in next year, along with the Super Bowl. Here we go.
The game is over. The Pittsburgh Steelers did it the hard way.
With the 10th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Devin Bush, linebacker,
And welcome back here, ladies and gentlemen, and folks, to this edition of the Mass Steel Podcast here. Me, Charles Prodigy Richey, and just want to give you an update right now as well. We are looking across the scoreboard before we get into anything for tonight's game against the LA Chargers in StubHub Center Stadium tonight. That's going to be taking place at 7:20 p.m. Central Standard Time on NBC. And right now, I just want to give you some updates real quick across the league right now. You got the Ravens, remember, who are top of the division, just beat the Cincinnati Bengals, which, by the way, the Bengals remain winless right now. So the Ravens, at the end of the day, no matter what the Steelers do today, they're not going to gain ground in the division. But right now, they beat them 23-17 is your final score in that contest. That game, you just saw it in there. Lamar Jackson, who's actually been getting a lot of doubt throughout this year, he didn't have any touchdowns. He got sacked once, threw for 236 yards, and completed 12 passes out of 33. He completed 21 passes out of 33 attempts. But as far as in this game, I mean, the big story in that game, I think right now, you could probably just say right here, I mean, in that, is that, I probably have to say Jackson in here, but when you look at the tail of this game right now, and you look at that game against the Ravens right there, and that was in Baltimore, which, by the way, the Ravens, who, by the way, had an interception, that was Marlon Humphrey, which, by the way, I think was the same guy who created the strip fumble. He proves to be another big-time hero once again today in this contest against the Bengals. And as far as everything else goes, as we look at it right now, please excuse starting everybody, but right now, yeah, so that is a final. And Baltimore Ravens did have a fumble in this game, it looks like. It was by Mark Andrews, by their tight end. So in that contest, overall, when you look at it, both teams were even at the turnover ratio, so it was +0. But, by the way, you still got a game that's going on right about now, too, in Cleveland, the Seattle Seahawks, who a lot of people were last seeing. That game was being shown nationwide real quick on Fox for those people who did not have it in market game for this contest. You have the Seattle Seahawks, who actually just went up on the Browns 32-28 moments ago. As right now, that game is final. Seattle Seahawks do defeat the Cleveland Browns. As we take a look at, as far as the standings go right now, in the AFC North, the Ravens are 4-2, while the Browns drop to 2-3 right now. They will be a game and a half out of the AFC North, or no, actually 2 games out, excuse me. And of course, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers 1-4 going up against the 2-3 matchup in the Chargers for tonight's matchup. So we'll find out what's going on there. But again, if you guys want, feel free to be part of the show. The number to be reached is 312-209-2232. Again, that number to be reached is 312-209-2232. You can follow me on Twitter at Prodigy Richey. You can also check me out on my Instagram stream, Men of Steel Nation. And feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Men of Steel Podcast right now. And let's go into the injury report real quick here. As it stands right now, the Steelers, who, by the way, they got 9 starters listed on the injury report for today's contest against the Chargers when they go in the StubHub Center tonight. And so far, there are going to be quite a few guys who are definitely going to be ruled out in this contest. You got 5 guys who are out. We already know with Mason Rudolph, who was in concussion protocol last week, and he was a limited participant all through this week. Non-contact drill on Friday, from what I last heard. Concussion, he's going to be ruled out, along with James Washington. Remember, he injured his shoulder. Looks like he's been missing a significant amount of time. He's out for tonight. Of course, you got Steven Nelson real quick, which I think is be an interesting loss tonight, and it's going to be real key, I think, for the Chargers. If Phillip Rivers decides to open up on his past game, he's going to be rolled out along with Mark Barron, hamstring injury. He did not practice all of last week. Then, of course, we're all aware about Roosevelt Nix with the knee injury he's still trying to recover from. Once again, he did not practice all this week. He is out. And, of course, you got Jalen Samuels, your backup running back, who is out. So you got 5 starters out, 6 players altogether out on today's game. But they had, going into this game, they had about 12 guys listed on the injury report. As for the Chargers right now, for their guys, they haven't ruled anyone out just yet. They got quite a few guys. They got 3 guys who are doubtful. That is right now, and all 3 of those guys are doubtful or on their bench, and that is going to be safety Nasir Adderley. And then he is doubtful. He had a hamstring injury. He did not practice all of this week. Of course, you got Michael Badgley, kicker, right groin, did not practice all this week. So he's be a questionable guy. He's going to be questionable. See if he'll be able to make. So he's ruled as doubtful. You also got Justin Jackson, backup running back behind Melvin Gordon. He is questionable right now. Melvin Ingram, excuse me. Michael Badgley is doubtful, right groin, the kicker. Melvin Ingram, who's your starter. So you got at least 5 starters right here listed on the injury report for the Chargers. You got Melvin Ingram III, defensive end, hamstring, did not practice Wednesday and Thursday. He was a limited participant this past Friday. And of course, Casey Hayward Jr., I believe he's related to Cam Hayward, back injury. He's right cornerback for the Chargers. He was a limited participant on Wednesday, but practiced Thursday and Friday, so it looks like he should be okay to go tonight. Then, of course, you have Hunter Henry right now, who is questionable. He's the second guy that's questionable for the Stars for the Chargers. He's a tight end, knee. He was limited participant in practice all week. Then, of course, you got Ty Long, their punter, left foot injury, full participant all week. He was good. Then you got Denzel Perryman, linebacker, starter, ankle injury. He was full participant all week. Then you got Thomas Davis, linebacker, undisclosed injury. He did not practice on Thursday, but he practiced on Friday. So there you have it, the injury report going into today's game. But at this point in time right now, the Steelers right now, this is a desperation win they're going to need tonight. No doubt about it. A lot of things at stake when you really think about this and what they really need to correct. Because right now, you're going to be trying to hope and see if you can somehow get a crack at this wild card. And that's not going to be an easy task right now, because it looks like if you lose this game tonight, your chances trying to get at the division is going to probably be slipping away. So you want to be very careful with that. The last thing you want to do is fall 3 games out. So it looks like your season will come more down less to counting on a wild card. And you don't want to be in that position right now. And I think the Steelers right now, they got to be feeling angry going to tonight's game, as they should. I mean, it's been a lot of frustration throughout the week here, as you can imagine, with this team. Hold on 1 second. We'll be right back, folks. All right, we're back here. Sorry again, folks, for the inconvenience right there. Had to charge my laptop here. I was running low on battery, so I do apologize for the slight disruption right there. But yeah, you got all that stuff going into the mix right now as you go into the night's game. And let's go to the tail of the tape right now. We're on the opening drive here at the Men of Steel podcast, and Steelers right now against the Chargers, against Rivers more particularly. They are 4-3 when facing Rivers, and you got in here. I mean, with this time too, which by the way, Mike Tomlin, who is actually coach of the Steelers right now, I mean, he is 3-2 lifetime against the Chargers, 4-2 technically all time if you include that one playoff victory they had against them in the 2008 season, where they won their very last. But here's the tail of the tape right now. You got this total defense right now. Chargers are 13th in the league, while Steelers are 18th. Total offense right now, you got the Steelers coming in here at this contest at 29th, while the Chargers are 12th. And, yeah, that's not a real good sign right there, I think, as far as, like, the offense. But a lot of that had to be doing where there have been in some games where it's been really close. And when you really look at it here, and yeah, I really think right now, I mean, a lot of these games, they have lost it closely. I mean, where it's just a matter of coming down with just better ball security, or just at the same time too, just like not getting caught up with some questionable impact penalties. Yeah, the penalties, I mean, they've been dealing with this year have been shortly cut down, but still, when you look at this team, they seem to get hit with the wrong penalties at the wrong time, like in key moments of the game. When you go back, when you flash back to about like what was it, like 3 weeks ago? I mean, when they lost late against San Francisco 49ers right there, and that's another thing that just sickens me right here. It's just that's another thing they just need to clean up. They need to get out of there. I mean, a lot of the time there are a lot of bad calls. But this is a team right now. You don't want to be living it with excuses right now. I know they had a scuffle in practice earlier this past week right now. And like I said, I think right now this team is coming to a point where they kind of need to have a players team only type of meeting. And if that's how they got to do it, where they got to dish out in practice, as long as they're not hurting anyone, hey, I'm for it. But at the same time, too, you got to wise up at these situations. You got to be a little bit more careful here. You don't want to be costing guys that you could be needing down the stretch, like a James Conner or whatever. I don't think they're going to let it get to that point. But, of course, I mean, Ramon Foster, he was very well ticked off along with David DeCastro earlier this week. That was reported by Mark Caboli, were involved Cam Kelly getting in there, I mean, shoving down Juju Smith-Schuster. And then, of course, you had James Conner taking a hit from one other player, and so on and so on. But, I mean, the defense is incredibly frustrated. I mean, listen, I mean, right now, when you look at where their season has been, I mean, overall, I mean, this year, I mean, as far as like defensive wise, I mean, going into this matchup, I mean, this week, I mean, they were the number one team leading in takeaways with 12. Aside from that, I mean, just recently until you had the Patriots kind of move past that. I mean, this past Thursday night when they beat the Giants right there. A lot of people, including myself, thought that was be a little bit of a challenge right there for TV great number 12. I mean, what can you say right there? And that's where I feel like the biggest thing is. I mean, the defense has taken a lot of heat. I mean, especially like the first 2 games with Keith Butler. I mean, week 3 is where they finally seemed like they were looking like they were going to be snapping out of it. I mean, you took advantage, getting the Mika Fitzpatrick trade, and since then they have created like about 10 takeaways. I mean, altogether within that span, an impact. I know the season's been down spiraling, but I gotta say right now that was definitely a very smart trade. What they did, yeah, I know you had to give up one of your draft picks early, but still, I mean, think of it this way. I mean, you're getting someone who you know you're going to need. I mean, in next year's draft, more likely. Obviously, you're not going to get in the first round, but you definitely do want someone you could depend on and have there for those times. And that's where I look at it. And I think it was definitely a very smart one. Very well done by Kevin Kolbert. Remember, his contract expires after the 2020 NFL draft. So we'll see what more rabbits he can pull out of his hat if he makes it through then, depending how the season goes. But he is still under contract through the 2020 draft. And that's going to be real interesting right there at the Steelers ownership. I mean, like Art Rooney is going to want to keep him around. I mean, or let him just walk away, considering what he's done. So let's get into some other stuff over here, too. I was looking at, real quick, according to Dale Lally, Steelers beat reporter for DK Pittsburgh Sports, he was hearing a lot of people speculating. He seems to take it as like a false narrative. The Steelers were trying to rush Mason Rudolph through concussion protocol, and he was saying that was indeed not the case. He was doing what he was supposed to be doing as far as staying on schedule. He's not going to start Sunday. At best, he'll be cleared tomorrow, which was yesterday, as a matter of fact, and serve as Steelers' backup. So I think that's the thing right here. And now you're going to be looking at a guy like Devlin Hodges, who's going into his very first as a Steeler right here, and see what he does. I like the spark they created last week. I mean, when you had it over here, I mean, in that contest. But, yeah, I really start to think right now it's just at a point right now, can you get the offensive rhythm? I mean, and that's where we're going to get into my keys to the game here in just a moment. But, again, the number that we reach if you want to be part of the podcast is 312-209-2232. Again, that number is 312-209-2232. You can follow me, as always, at Prodigy Richey. You can also check me out on my Instagram stream, Men of Steel Nation. Feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Men of Steel Podcast, as we get ready over here at this point in time. But, yeah, let's get some other stuff here that's been happening. I mean, also, I mean, I just broke down the injury report. I mean, Burt Law apparently made it official, as a matter of fact, on Twitter. He can be followed on Twitter at Steelers PR Burt. And this was announced yesterday that he's not going to be making the trip for the Chargers game. And as he's definitely one of the 5 starters that will be out tonight. So, yeah, I think his loss is going to be very key when we go into this game. And we'll see how it unfolds, I mean, for this time. I think for right now, you definitely got a lot of stuff to be looking in the mirror, considering what's been transpiring all week. I mean, especially with the news, I mean, following like the loss to the Ravens, I mean, Mike Tomlin being a candidate for coach of the Redskins. I don't think that's going to happen yet. I don't think it's going to happen during the season, and I'm just not so sure, depending on how the season works out, if they're going to move on from that easily. I think Tomlin does get a little bit of benefit of the doubt. I mean, if you ask me, he does deserve another chance, and I'm just not ready to see him go. But like I said, I was looking at this too, and I did like research on this, and I posted out on my Men of Steel podcast page. Again, you can find that at Men of Steel Nation. That's capital M, capital S, capital N. And check this out. This was very interesting. I found when I was researching. I know Mike Tomlin took a lot of heat for against losing teams. I already went into that stat because when you look at him against losing teams versus his other predecessors in Steelers history, I mean, right now you got Chuck Noll. I mean, who's of course number one with 93, 39, and 1 record, 70% win percentage. Cowher is 76 and 22 with 76 1%. And then of course you got Mike Tomlin, who's 53 and 26. But then when you look at here's where the interesting part comes in. I know we heard this before, but this is the official record, and he pretty much, I mean, smokes the other coaches as far as record against winning teams. And Mike Tomlin is 55 and 29, was 66 win percent, while Bill Cowher's 53, 50, and 1, 3 games over 500, 51 win percent, and Chuck Noll is 59, 83, 24 games under 500 with 42 win percent. That's what I want to really leave you with real quick, because when you look at like overall point differential in all those games for Mike Tomlin, when it comes to teams against winning records, all the years that he's coached here, as being a Steeler head coach, it's 489, while Bill Cowher is 76, Chuck Noll's minus 188. So I just definitely want you guys to keep that in mind before, if anything happens to Tomlin. I don't want to see it happen. But if he does, I mean, if he does got to move on, I could live with it. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, he served his time here for this team. I mean, he's definitely put this team in the right direction as far as I'm concerned for so many years. Always kept his team in it. No matter how much you may agree or disagree with it, I think Tomlin was a guy who definitely did everything he could possible to keep any hopes and chances afloat. And you got to do that when you're a coach. You got to like look at all options here. You always want to be a little bit more like edgier and play with confidence. I like a coach who's willing to take chances, where sometimes going for on 4th down calls or whatever, 4th and shorts. This guy is a gambler at the end of the day. So let's get some other stuff here as we get ready to wrap up the opening drive. Again, the number, if you want to dial in, it is 312-209-2232. Speaking of which, as far as like the running back depth, you got right now Benny Snell Jr., who's saying he felt very confident. I mean, when he was at the locker room in the Rooney complex on Friday before the team traveled to Los Angeles for the Week 6 matchup. And he was saying right now, he says, like, especially me running the plays and getting multiple reps, James tells me a lot about the little things, a lot about the details. Snell told when he was asking what he learned from Connor. He said, and James teaches me a lot of things on the field and off. So I feel like I've come a long way. Muscle memory now. That's, of course, for like Randy Fichtner right now, to the offensive coordinator. He was very disappointed, like what they're going to be missing Jalen Samuels for the significant time. But he was saying that Jalen was just a unique individual. He will be missed. But I'm really kind of excited for Benny Snell. Fichtner said that after Thursday's practice at the Rooney Complex. I'm excited for all the new guys because you really just don't know, and you may be looking at your new star. The truth is, he's prepared and he's got a job to do, and he'll do it this week. So there you have it right there. That's the stuff right there I got for the opening drive right now. As officially right now, I mean, you had all the scores read off within the division. We just await tonight's matchup when the Steelers go into the StubHub Center tonight to take on the Chargers in Carson, California at this point in time. And we'll see how it looks, I mean, for that point in time. But, yeah, I mean, right now, I mean, if you lose this game tonight, chance for the division, I think it's safe to say it's pretty much out the window as far as I'm concerned. If you look at it, I'm not sure if they can be able to recover from the 3-game deficit. Then you have to be looking at where it gets a little testy going into the wild card. And I don't think you want to start treading some tough water just yet, but you want to be careful. So let's go to the keys of the game real quick over here for this contest. And key number 1 for me, I'm going to say win the turnover battle. And the Steelers are 2-0 against Rivers when they do win those turnover battles against him. Okay? And in those times that I'm talking about when they won the turnover battle, which was back in 2008, where they had 2 takeaways on defense, which was 2 interceptions, and then they had and they didn't even turn over the ball at all in that game. So it was a +2 in that game. Then of course 2015, when the last time they were in San Diego, a couple of years before they moved to Carson, California, the Chargers. That is, in 2015, they were +1 in that game, where they turned the ball over once in that contest, but they were able to get like 2 takeaways on defense, and it came from an interception and a forced strip fumble that was recovered by the Steelers in that contest. So there you have it. But overall, against the Chargers, they are -1 in turnover ratio against Phillip Rivers and the Chargers in 6 of their matchups they went. And as a result, I mean, the Steelers, by the way, who whether, like I said, 2-0 against Rivers when they win the turnover ratio in that contest. I mean, those 2 games they won the turnover ratio, they're a +3. So that's going to be a big key right there. I want to see that momentum keep up. I mean, at the same time, too, I mean, the Steelers also were, I mean, into this contest, I mean, going into it, they were number 1 in sacks. I mean, up until like the Panthers and Patriots already just played. But yeah, that's what I'm paying attention to right now. So I'm paying attention to the turnover ratio, keep the momentum going, and then that's going to bring me to point number 2. If you win that turnover ratio, what's going to be the biggest thing right there? Scoring in the red zone. That would be key number 2. Steelers are 5 for 12 this year, 41.67, which ranks in the NFL 28th, almost kind of back to where they were with Todd Haley from 2 years ago. The offensive coordinator, he was there at the time. So that's another thing that needs to be addressed tonight. They got to get the red zone efficiency starting right now. It's not where it was a couple years ago when you had Antonio Brown, you had Le'Veon Bell, you had some good hands on the ball. I mean, for both running and receiving or multi-threats, those 2 players, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, they were struggling in red zone efficiency that year, but at the same time, they had a decent, respectable total offense where they could still put up points, even though it was a lot more field goals that year, but they were still able to like control the clock with scoring first downs, and that's what we need to do right there. And then key number 3 for this contest, I'm going to only go with 4 keys today. You want to get the run game going along with James Carr and Ben Snell. Ben Snell has to play a huge role in this contest tonight, I really think. Last thing you want to be doing is be flirting around where you're not going to be turning those turnovers into points. I mean, by the defense, I mean the takeaways that you're generating. You want to be able to stamp your foot down real quick here, and you want to be able to keep yourself in command at all times. You want to be able to control the clock. And then I'm definitely going to go with 5 keys, so forget that. But when you also look at it, too, I mean, right now, let's also look at this. I think for right now, I think what you also got to look at, I mean, just first down efficiency. I mean, third down efficiency. You have to improve that. It's been times where it's in the 30s this year, and that's not going to always get it done right there. So you want to do that. So if you do those things right there, probably turn into a win tonight. You can definitely feel good about how you are. Maybe not so much about the division as much, but you want the name of the game is here. You want to keep yourself in the game at the same time. You still want to be a big-time player no matter what, and that's going to do it for this edition of the Men of Steel podcast again. I want to say thank you to those of you for taking the time to tune in real quick here. Again, I'm usually streaming live on Mondays and Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll have an earlier start tomorrow. It'll be at 6 o'clock, more than likely. Again, if you want, feel free and call in. The telephone number to be reached for the show is 312-209-2232. You can always follow me on Twitter at Prodigy Richey. I'm also the host of On Deck on Saturdays, too, on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com. I got another Twitter account for that. You can follow me on Twitter at OnDeckCSR. And then, of course, check out my Instagram page, Men of Steel Nation, and then my On Deck Instagram page at On Deck CSR, and of course my YouTube channel, Men of Steel Podcast. As always, leave you. Don't be trolling, be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I gone.